Evans,
Hi.
really jumping straight into it. At what point did you realize it was important to write this book?
Well, it wasn't my idea. That's the truth of it. I had never thought about writing a memoir. I didn't think it was. I had anything to say. That's the real truth. Then I did a big press tour for my second album 2.5 years ago, and I did a big interview on Radio 4. And the interviewer asked some really interesting questions that I'd never really been asked before. It was more about my life, my childhood, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, coming out. There's many things that I really no one had touched on, and it sort of opened up this chasm of information that I hadn't really ever imparted. And from that interview, which was like an hour long, the publishing house Ebury, which is who published my book, approached my agent and said, "Has he ever thought about writing his memoir?" And I was like, "I'm 45. It's too old. I'm too young for a book." But then they explained why and what had triggered them to call. So I sat with the idea for several months, thought about it, and I thought, actually, there is an interesting story. And I thought, well, I've never heard my story before, my journey. So I thought, why not? Let's see what happens. And so that's how it started. And I think the main part of the story that I thought would be interesting and maybe inspiring, or give some people maybe going through the same thing that I went through, is a little bit of hope that, even in these dark moments, as you're finding out who you are or what you want to do with your life, or maybe you're in an oppressive situation that's not allowing you to be who you really want to be, that there often are ways out. And my journey is an example of that.
I found reading the book actually fascinating, and it challenged me to think about how I had, obviously you're a larger than life movie star, and I'd had preconceptions about you in my head, and I found it really fascinating. And it didn't just challenge my preconceptions about, like, how I viewed you, but people in the media, gay men in general. Like, it was massively eye-opening. I can only imagine what it's going to then do for people, as you say, who maybe are struggling with aspects of their sexuality. One thing that I took away from the book was I think you have a very unique vantage point from which to view masculinity. So I wonder if you could talk to me, what does that word mean to you, masculinity?
It's interesting, right? So, I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always this a very masculine presenting gay man. People think of me as this big action guy and whatever, but when I was a kid, I was this skinny little big-eared, bullied, mouse-like, hiding in the shadows kind of kid who really didn't like his skin, who he was. Growing up, of course, most gay kids of my generation, certainly, you grow up in a straight environment. Everyone's straight. That's just how it is. Everyone has girlfriends during their early teens, and they're talking about it, and you don't. So that's the first thing you feel is a bit strange, because you don't want a girlfriend. It's not clear. There's not a map for gay kids to come out. So they have to have this huge moment to express themselves and be scared that they're going to be rejected, and some are, struggle with all of that. Through all of that, my observation of men has always been the straight man, the rugby player, the coal miner, the bricklayer, the carpenter. These people are all my dad's an
Archetype.
Yes, archetypal, yeah, and I'm surrounded by it. Also, toxic masculinity. I come from South Wales. There's like, if you don't drink 15 pints of cheap beer on a Saturday night and have a fight, you haven't had a good night. That was my observation. It wasn't what I wanted for my life. I knew I wasn't that person, but I observed this for most of my life. So my opinion of masculinity now is interesting, because obviously my whole career has primarily been playing heteronormative masculine straight men, with women, killing dragons, vampires. I've just finished this big show for Amazon called Criminal. Like, this guy is as hard as they come. Ex-special forces, scar on his face, brutally brutal, violent man. But I don't think it has anything to do with masculinity. It comes down to who you are as a human being. Um, I know masculine, strong, straight men who are really effeminate. And, things have changed. Masculinity is a very broad umbrella and it can mean many, many things. And as an observer of the straight man and what historically we would have got, that's a masculine man, he has a wife, he has kids, he hangs out in the pub with his mates on the weekend. Well, that doesn't mean masculine at all to me anymore. Masculine is much more about how a man feels in himself. It's an internal being comfortable with who you are. That's what I think is masculine now. It's not about having muscles or being the loudest one in the party, or the one who sleeps with the most women, or to me it has nothing to do with it. But I've been observing it my whole life, that the straight masculine image, and I've been trying to dissect it as I portray these different kinds of men. Still trying to work it out.
Is there anyone for you that you've encountered that kind of really personifies a healthy outlet of what you're describing there?
Oh, many, yeah, lots, lots of people, loads of my friends. I think of doing it right, or as far as I can see from an outsider's point of view. Yeah, I mean, I always thought Henry Cavill, he's a friend of mine, and we've done a movie together, and we've always kept in touch. And he's played such, on paper, screen. He's played Superman. I mean, like, there's no bigger man than Superman. But as a human being in normal life, he is a very kind, warm, welcoming, open, accepting, liberal kind of man who has been my friend for a very long time. And yeah, he's a good example of that, I would say.
Did you ever feel that, sort of owing to your sexuality, did you ever feel any pressure? And this is obviously something you've been vocal about, but did you ever feel pressure to take specific roles, or has that just been a non-thing for you? Well, not to take specific roles, should I say?
No, I didn't even think about it. I mean, I took the roles that early on. I took the big roles that would get my profile, and the ones that came my way were, Apollo, Zeus, the Raven, Dracula, Fast and the Furious. They came to me, and they were great. And in between those, I did a couple of indies and did all of that. But it's not that I vied away from less masculine action kind of roles. It was just, that's where my career sort of took me. I tried to just bring humanity to them and give them flaws. I mean, no one's perfect, and I don't think bad guys need to be quintessentially always bad. They can also have charm, and that's how they become so good at being an antagonist. So,
were there ever any conversations with people around you, people you worked with, about how you pick roles and how you choose roles, and how your sexual orientation? And I mean this, I'm not looking for like the big, like, oh, so and so said I should only ever take these roles. I mean other gay men, and how and what they felt comfortable sort of veering towards.
you mean in my industry?
Mm.
I didn't know any. I had no gay actor friends. None. None at all. I knew that there were a couple that were not open and still are not open. Of course, that's a secret I will keep. It's up to them if they decide to come out. But it's a very difficult thing, and everybody has a very different journey, and they make their own decisions. So I didn't have anyone to go, God, this is what are you going to do about this? How do you feel about this? No one. No, I had to make that decision between myself and my team. But it wasn't something I thought about too much. It was like, what used to tickle me was the fact that I'd end up getting these macho heavy, leading men roles. My straight actor friends didn't get them, and I think a lot of them were a little pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's a couple of conversations. There's one in the book with an actor friend of mine who was just like, "Man, wow, you just keep getting these roles, and we're not getting them," and which I thought, wow, it's interesting. I mean, of course, let's be clear. I didn't get the role any other reasons. They just thought I was the right person for the role. They didn't think about my sexuality. They didn't think about anything other than he looks the part and he can act, and we know he fits the bill. That's it. the people that knew I was gay, obviously that's interesting then, of course, because like, yeah, man, wow, it's amazing, isn't it, that you can pull that off, but actually that's not who you are in real life. It's called acting.
Good acting, yes. Yeah, they're like Gaston, really, and you're like,
Yeah,
yes,
come on,
acting,
yeah,
more acting.
exactly right.
Do you think any part of masculinity, as it's traditionally presented, the sort of archetypical masculinity, is helpful?
I mean, we can't completely throw it away. I mean, I think a lot of it is unhelpful now in present times, the way we are as men, and obviously, there's a lot of toxicity in the word masculine that we still see. It's definitely had a light shone on it in recent times. Some of it is ugly, but I don't think all of, what we would class as masculine is bad. I mean, I'm from South Wales. I have very strong masculine men in my family, and I love them dearly. I mean, some of their opinions are a little weird, but they're of a time. That's not who I am today as a man who presents in a masculine way, and I live my life. But I, c- I- it's like when you write a book, you sit there and you go, "Wow, God, that was a decision I made," and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Our past is our past. But everything that's happened in the past informs us to who we are today, and we can't deny our history. We can't deny what masculine meant in the past. We just can learn from it. Regret is fine if there's some way of learning from it. You don't hang on to it. But I think we're always changing. I think we're going through a very interesting moment in our society right now, where we're all looking at these words in a very different way. What does it mean to be a man in 2024? What is a man in 2024? How does it feel to be a man in 2024? If you asked a man 10 years ago the same question, they'd have a very different answer. And that's life. That's how it works.
Whilst we've covered this, you're not only an action star, you're clearly very comfortable in those roles. Were playing the physical roles that you've had, is that something that came quite naturally to you?
No, not at all.
Talk me through that. What was your first experience?
I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I'd never trained to an extent to be ready to have abs and pecs and being able to do stunts and hold a gun and ride a horse and throw flames and whips and bow and arrow and all the other crazy stuff that I've done, drive fast cars. It was me playing a role. I mean, and I just went, well, this is part of the job of being this character. I have to learn this thing. I remember for the first time when I had to train was in the movie. I just mentioned Henry. We met on a movie called Immortals. And I mean, it's Greek mythology. Everybody was like body beautiful. And I was the last one to be cast as Zeus in the movie. And
No pressure.
no pressure. And I had 7 weeks to train in Montreal. They'd all been training for 4 or 5 months because the movie had been put on hold. So they just kept them in pristine condition that whole time. I turned up 7 weeks, and I'd just done a movie in Newcastle where the catering was sausage rolls and pasties. And I love a sausage roll and a pasty and a pint of Newcastle brown. So I turned up and I had to go into this heavy duty training. And I remember one day, Henry took his top off in the stunt department, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I've got to get out of here. Like, this is wrong. I can't do this. I'm never going to get into it. And I called my manager. It's in the book. And I said, I made it. It's a big mistake. I've got to get out. She said, no, you're there. You're going to do this. Just get on with it. Get under training and just do it. Listen to what they say. So I did. And it was something I'd never done before. And I went into this extreme boot camp of training, food, sleeping. They had us down. We were like monkeys in a zoo. And then there was feeding time. There was snap time. You had to drink at this point. Then we would train, and then you would do stunts, and then you would nap again. It was literally like a regime. And we were in that for 7 weeks. I lost 30 pounds in seven weeks.
Wow.
I ended up with abs for the first time in my life. And I left with a load of tools in my toolbox that I didn't have before. Knowledge about how to train, new exercises, a new way of looking at my nutritional intake, how I did that. They simplified it for me because, sometimes you pick up a book or you read something online and I'm halfway through. I'm like, I'm never going to stick to this. But I left there after 4 months of shooting the movie and staying in shape, thinking about it in a different way. And then I sort of loved the training. And then I trained with a great trainer called Simon Waterson, who, is a friend of mine, and we've worked together on several movies. And, learning from people like that who do that, that's their job. They have so many gems and ideas, and it never gets boring. And I loved my time in the gym with my trainers and on my own also. I find that's the time when I have some solace. I just put some music on and just get on with the gym. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, and I think that's a really refreshing thing to hear, which I think is going to land with a lot of people, because it's tempting to believe that in this case, in a very real way, Zeus sort of landed on top of the mountain. But I know it's so cliche to say that everybody starts somewhere, but I think some people kind of are viewed as so far along that path. Exactly how you felt about Henry, and that wasn't even peak Henry Cavill. That wasn't a Superman Henry Cavill. To hear that, you had those feelings as well. How am I ever gonna get there? I think it's
And
very
and
reassuring.
listen, we all have the option to just go, it's too much.
Yeah.
Let's just walk away. It's the easiest option. And I could have probably got myself out of that movie, but what are we going to learn by sticking at something? You may end up failing at it, but at least you said you've had a go. Like I wanted to walk away going, do you know what? I'm going to throw everything into this, and at least I can say I tried.
Yeah.
And I actually achieved something. I mean, I've got a picture of me standing in this little loincloth on the edge of my trailer. I literally have like 4% body fat. I'm like, how did I do that? I just committed and I got on with it, and I learned something about myself. I learned firstly that I could commit to something that I knew was going to be very painful and not easy. But it meant the next time I had to approach a challenge, I knew I'd already achieved something that I thought I couldn't do before, and it wasn't necessarily to replicate that. It was other things in life. I think that's how you build character, and sticking at something, seeing something through. It's quite easy just to walk away. Relationships, like life, food, whatever,
Yeah.
you can't just walk away, but you don't learn from that. I think it's sometimes committing to something and really seeing it through. It gives you a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction too.
You kind of covered this already, but a lot of actors, big name actors, quite famously don't like, and quite vocally don't like to train, don't like to physically train outside of the roles they're taking on. Daniel Craig, famous example. Can't wait to tell you how much he doesn't like to work out. How much of a role in your life, when you're not training for a really physical role, how much of a role in your life does your workout, your nutrition, how much does that play? How
It's
important?
part of my life. I would say the nutrition thing. I mean, if you're doing a movie where it's really, they require you to be in a very, very specific, you have to think about the food. You definitely have to think about the food, and somebody's probably helping you with that. But when you're in, back to normal life, gym isn't a chore. Gym is just part of my daily routine. Sometimes it's like yesterday, I've got terrible jet lag. I've been in Portland for 3 months and I have the worst jet lag. So I'm waking up at 3 a.m. So I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go to the gym and get it out of the way before I started my work yesterday. So I was in the gym at 5:30. I did half an hour. There was no one there. I did 4 exercises of chest. I was like, well, I would have done this in an hour. I thought, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to walk out. So I did half an hour, and I don't beat myself up about it. And I will try and fit the gym in wherever I can, because I've realized even if you do 30 minutes in the gym, the mental wellness of knowing you've done something good for yourself physically, you walk out buzzing. You just feel like, great, I'm starting the day on a good foot. Then there are days when you just can't go, and there are days when you want to order a kebab and not have a salad. I don't beat myself up about any of that. I just try and keep it balanced. I can't have kebabs every night, but if I want a kebab on a Saturday night, just enjoy it. Just know that you're going to have to burn it off sometime in the future, or have a good, clean few days afterwards. I mean, but I like the gym. It's not something I feel I have to go to the gym. If I don't want to go one day, I just don't go. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. If I'm going to go on a holiday, I'm like any other man. I just hammer it at the gym and, eat really clean to stay off the beer. And I'm the same as everyone else, and you have peaks and troughs during the year when you want to go to the gym and you feel crap about yourself. Usually, though, if I feel crap about myself, that's the reason why I want to go to the gym, because I know once I've been to the gym and I start thinking about my food and keeping a routine, it'll go and I'll lose my midriff again, but it comes and goes. So,
It's crazy how overlooked an aspect of just movement in general that is, right, is what it does for between your ears. And I think because it's sold as this, like, what we can do looks wise, but that outward spiral of taking a little bit better care of your body, feeling better, so then you're able to treat yourself a little bit better. The downstream effects of that are, well, if nothing else changed, they're well worth the price of entry, right?
exactly right. Yeah. I mean, and if you only have like half an hour, I just thought I'm going to just go and do it for half an hour and fit whatever I can into that and focus. I would say not having your phone in the gym is something I've realized is it's that phone. It's almost like you're not going to train. I'm going to stop you from training. It bothers me, the phone. So I've now started to leave it in the locker because, if you just see something flash up, it just stops you. Then your rest period is too long, and it's an hour. Yeah. It's just an hour.
Well, it's not going to work.
Just nothing is gonna happen in an hour. Just put the damn phone down and just really do yourself a favor. Yeah. So that's something I've learned. My partner is a very, very fit, loves the gym, can spend 2 hours in a gym in one session. I absolutely cannot. But we like to train together sometimes. But actually, we also like training alone. So sometimes we can both be in the gym at the same time, and he's just doing his thing, I'm doing mine. And when we just go, "You ready to go?" And it's like, "No, I'll see you upstairs," or "We're ready to go," and we just finish 2 abs together and then be done. Yeah, it's quite a social thing sometimes, but also I find the gym quite nice just to be on my own as well.
Is there anything in particular that you think helped you to reach that relationship with it, where it's kind of like you enjoy it, but it's comme ça, comme ça. You don't feel overly pressured, but you do respect the fact that, hey, if I want to get something out of this every now and again, I need to put some effort and consistency in it. What helps you find that balance, do you think?
Age, being comfortable with, I'm not massively comfortable with being out of shape. I have to say, I feel better about myself when I've put the work in, and I'm not carrying the extra fat around my midriff. I just don't. It just makes me feel better, even if I'm not on a beach. I feel better about it. But I just think life is so fast. Sometimes we just don't have the time to go, or sometimes we can only fit in a little bit of press ups next to the bed. We can't get to a gym. It's not the end of the world, I've realized, it's not the end of the world if you can't do it. But if you can, I've realized it does make me feel a bit better, mentally, everything. So it's not just, building muscle. It's actually what it makes you feel like. But I think you've just got to have a healthy relationship with training. And, it's sometimes you pick up a magazine and you write, this is for the 3 weeks, it gives you a 3-week plan, and it stresses me out. I'm thinking, well, I can't do that. I don't have the time to do this. Well, then don't look at all of it. Just pick the bits that you like. And the bits that you can fit in, work it into your schedule. I think you've got to adapt things to your schedule,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
If you can only train at 8 p.m. at night for half an hour, so be it. If you can't get to the gym, buy some press-up bars, buy some rubber bands. I mean, I travel all the time. I'm rarely next to a good gym, so I'd rather not go to the gym and do something in my hotel room, or go to the park, or just do press-ups every morning and sit-ups. That'll keep you fit until you get to the next gym. But I think if the voice in your head is saying you're a loser because you didn't go, and that's a slippery slope.
Yeah. That for me, I've been training for 20 years, obviously very invested in the industry. When I have the feeling of anxiety because I couldn't train, that's when I know that something's actually not right. I need to readjust my relationship because, the world's not going to end because I missed that work.
Yeah.
How
by the way,
self-important am I?
Even if you didn't go for a week, you're not much changes in a week of not training. Try and not train for. I had an operation a couple of years ago, and I couldn't train for 8 weeks. let me tell you, starting after 8 weeks, the body has just lost every bit. But like after a week, actually, I found sometimes I haven't trained for like 5, 6 days, and I go to the gym, and everything just goes boom.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You
wow.
you're primed.
I'm not saying that you should only train once every 7 days, but like the odd time you stop, if you're in a routine,
Yeah.
the muscle actually can enjoy a bit of a break, as long as you're not like throwing kilos of chocolate down your throat during that break. But the muscle remembers, and I've always been quite shocked at how it all comes back so quickly.
Yeah. In the book, you talk about filming a scene in The Hobbit where you are performing a big set piece.
Yeah.
You're chasing Smaug, the dragon. Presumably he wasn't there. And you are kind of on wires and you're scraping your knuckles and you're going take after take after take. You happen to have your sort of hands bandaged between, but you're going again and again and again to nail this stunt. Do you think in this day and age there's a pressure on sort of male leading men to be the guy who does his own stunts?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I think we all want to do our own stunts as much as we can. I get cast because I do a lot of my own stunts, for sure. At this point, people know that, like this movie I've just done, I have like 7 or 8 fight sequences. I did all of them. There's a bit of parkour, which I couldn't do. So a stunt guy came in for that, and a tiny bit of driving, which the insurers wouldn't let me cover. But, I did it all. I enjoy it. But definitely, I would say there is a pressure. If you're going to take on these roles, they expect you to do at least learn it and do as much as you can. Yeah, sure.
Do you think that intimidates any young actors or older actors also coming through?
I think if you're an actor and you're going to step into the world of movies, you have to realize this is part of the job. And if you want to play those roles, then get ready. Be ready. Don't expect someone to come in and do it all for you. I mean, there are actors I've worked with where I've never worked with them and done a fight sequence with their perfect stunt double that looks just like them. Never worked with them, and I've done whole fight sequences. I won't name them. Well, when you get to a certain level, but if you're a young actor, if you're going to come into this world and you want to be in movies like, Fast and the Furious or big action sequences or this Gladiator movie just coming out, you be prepared to go into a boot camp and train, but also embrace it. It's not scary. I mean, this stunt department, they're some of my favorite people on a movie. I mean, literally, we're like a team. And I just love it. Honestly, stunt guys, for me, stunt teams, it's the best time I have on a movie, because we usually spend time away from the set, learning the choreography, in a different place together. We learn it all. We come to set and they're so supportive. I've put my life in the hands of at least 10 stuntmen in my life, in my film life. I'm on cables jumping a 40-foot from a 40-foot free fall to then slow down. It's all in the hands of somebody, I may have only met a month ago. So I really trust them. I admire them. Yeah, great bunch of people. I love stunt people so much.
Are there any stunts or set pieces that you've done where you thought, okay, maybe this is a step too far now?
Well, yeah, that one you just mentioned in The Hobbit. I mean, when I was having to jump over these rooftops, I had this 2-meter bow and arrows in this quiver on my back, and there's flames and this bloody dragon, and I'm sliding around, and my knuckles were shred because I had no hands free. And I remember one point, it's in the book, where the stunt department, they were like, listen, if you can't do it again, just tell Peter. I'm like, but what? Has he got it? And no, you'll just keep going until you break. And I was like, it was my second day on the film. And I thought, he's not going to break me. Because if he breaks me now, I've got 12 months here and I've got a lot to do. So I just kept going and dealt with the pain after I'd finished. That wasn't him being a taskmaster. He's just, this is a big show. And I knew I was coming into something and portraying a really iconic character, and I knew that it would demand a certain amount of physicality and energy, and I love that shit. I love this. I love a challenge, whether it's an acting challenge, whether it's a psychological challenge, a physical challenge. I think it's part of why I love what I do.
What does the training, the physical preparedness look like to get you ready for that stuff? Not the, getting into Apollonian shape, not the abs, not the pecs.
Yeah.
To be ready for those rigors. What does that training look like?
Well, for example, we did the Three Musketeers in Germany, and we were taught by an Olympic gold medalist, German. She won Olympic gold for épée. So she came and taught us how to sword fight épée style, like working with the creme de la creme of that craft. When I learned to use the bow and arrow in The Hobbit, we had an archer come in, and I learned on many different bows until they finally give me the long bow. Um, you know, so many different things. Horse riding, I'd never been on a horse other than a pony when I was in the South Wales valleys, just trotting along, wishing it was back in the stables. So learning to ride a horse on a movie was an extraordinary thing. I was always scared of horses and never really, never been around them that much. And we were sent out to this amazing place called Steve Dent. He does all the horses for all the movies in the UK and Europe, and he's got this big farm outside London towards the airport. And I got put on a horse, different horses. I've learned to show jump. I've learned to do stunts on a horse. I can jump off a horse while it's cantering and jump back on. They're crazy, crazy things that only I would have ever done because of a movie. The tools in my toolbox are really varied. Like I can disarm M5, AK-47. I can disarm a man if he had a gun facing me. I can I can put somebody into a chokehold, put them out. I can build a brick wall. I can do many weird things that I've only learned because of my job. And sometimes they bring in the creme de la creme of these specific things to teach you,
Yeah.
It's just a joy.
Privilege.
Real
Amazing.
privilege.
Yeah. What's the one thing of that litany of things that you look at and you go, you know what, in another life I probably would have done this. I've got a dab hand at this.
Horse riding.
Really?
Horse.
I could have guessed that actually. You were very enthusiastic about the horses, yeah.
I've ridden some incredible horses from all over the world. Some that have been shipped in from Argentina. Really stunning, obedient, clever horses. And when you get on the back of a horse, and I remember learning on this beautiful stallion. It was my horse in the Three Musketeers. And I was already quite accomplished by that point because I'd done Robin Hood with Russell Crowe. I had a very small role, but they taught me how to ride a horse. And so I was really accomplished. They put me on this stallion and they said, we want to test to see if this horse, the stallions, they're really aggressive, huge, proud, they stand their chest, their hair is like huge. They took all the strapping off the horse, the seat, the lot, and I just sat on the horse, crossed my arms, and then moved, and the horse did what I did. I was able to learn how to move this horse with nothing apart from just tiny movements of my legs. That was an amazing thing to do.
Nervy, I bet.
Yeah. And I loved it so much that when I'm not working, I find horses to ride when I'm not working. When I was in Byron Bay doing 9 Perfect Strangers, I don't know if you've ever been to Byron Bay, but it's one of the most stunning places, amazing beaches, amazing nature. And we found a horse lady and she took us out and we galloped through forests and we ended up galloping across a beach, just pelting it down this beach. And then we stopped, we took off all their bridles and the saddle, got back on them and walked them into the ocean. And we swam with these horses in the ocean. Like amazing things. And I only have an appreciation for horses because of what I learned on a movie set. So, yeah.
Really random tangential before we finish up, kind of circling back round to masculinity. Is horse riding something that you see as a really good physical pursuit that gets you in good shape, that's maybe not traditionally seen as, particularly like, working class masculine lads, that you would recommend men go out and try?
Hell yeah. I swear, like you want to sit on a horse for an hour, your hamstrings and your adductors and your glutes and your thighs, I can't even put my legs together for like hours afterwards because of the muscles that you've used. Your core stability and your arms, like everything's working. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's a really great thing to do. Yeah, great for the lower body for sure.
Luke, I've got a round of quick fire questions designed to sort of deliver some instantly actionable wisdom to our listeners. First off, one is a little bit of a personal indulgence. If you could embody, become, live the life of any of your roles, who would it be?
Probably Dracula. Like he can live in any time. I mean, he's lonely and his nutritional value is quite vitamin D based. Not D, was it?
The opposite.
Yeah, the opposite, yeah. But I think, yeah, he can turn into bats, he can fly, he can disappear for thousands of years. I think that'd be quite cool.
We can cut this because this is just something I'm interested in. Are we getting a sequel?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, it would be
The
great.
problem
One of
with
my favorite films.
It's honestly, it's everybody loves that movie.
Yeah.
Like if I don't get asked it once every week on social media, I get asked like 100 times. It's insane.
Yeah.
The problem was it was put into that monster franchise that they were trying to create. If it had been made on its own, we would have made a sequel, but it was attached to a much bigger idea. And obviously The Mummy failed. All the ones that came after it, they did not do well, and they scrapped the whole idea. And unfortunately, my Dracula Untold, which did great, we did. I mean, it's on every year. Like it was the most viewed, one of the top 5 most viewed films in the world on Netflix 3 months ago. Just there for no reason other than people love it. People watch it over and over and over. So it's a real shame.
Yeah,
it's a real shame.
Definitely. Who's been the most physically impressive actor you've ever worked with?
I mean, it's probably Dwayne, The Rock. He's just his commitment to staying in that shape for a start. You know, it's relentless, and he's just such a professional. He knows what it takes to do that and to stay in that shape. And obviously, he's getting older as well. You know, it's not easy. I'm already struggling at 45, and he's older than me, so. And also he's a giant, you know, he's just such an impressive man and also a good guy, which I think is the icing on the cake.
Is there anyone that's really surprised you? Anyone that you've met and you're like, wow, you're a big dude?
Of course, there's some you just go, it's actually the opposite. What's happened more is that I know somebody looks a certain way and then I meet them and they're tiny, but they physically look great on camera, but actually they are really, really thin and small, but clearly defined.
Yeah.
And the camera, you know, naturally it puts 10 pounds on you, right? So they look much bigger on screen, and then you meet them in the real life, and they're like really slight.
Tight framing.
Yeah, that happens more than the other way around.
I was just blindsided about an hour ago by how big you are. You're a big dude.
Really?
Yeah, take up a lot of space.
I take up a lot of space.
You're doing well, yeah. What are your go-to workout tunes?
I mean, it can go from happy house playlists to the radio, to podcasts, to my own. I've written some new music, so sometimes I just listen to it on repeat. The songs I've just had I've written a song that's just we've mixed into 3 house tracks. So I sometimes listen to that and just keep listening to see what I can change. Sometimes nothing at all. Sometimes a good old 80s throwback or a 90s throwback playlist. Yeah.
If you could hit a workout or head out on a run with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
Wow. God, that's a really interesting question. I don't know, maybe someone like Steve McQueen.
Oh, yeah.
I bet he would be so fun.
Yeah.
Like, and also to learn all the tricks that they used to do to train, which would be so different to us.
Different, yeah.
Right? And yeah, Steve McQueen.
Yeah, and I think their attitude towards it was probably like a little bit like more laid back and like cool, you know, guys like Charles Bronson.
You know, like, I mean,
and they're still just
cool.
just like huge forearms.
Yeah,
They're just like dads.
Yeah.
That was when dad bod meant something different, though. If you could only do one exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? And you can have running and walking and those things, but
no, definitely not running. Absolutely, I'll walk anyway. But it would be a pec exercise.
big chest guy, obvious.
It would probably be cables, flies, But not just fly, because with cables you can do anything.
Mm.
You can do incline, decline, flies, close. You could do so many things on a cable machine. Everything. I could literally spend an hour and a half in the gym only on a cable machine and do everything, from shoulders down to glutes, everything. You can do everything on a cable.
You're an absolute connoisseur of the cable pec fly.
And cable.
Love it. Absolutely love it. You can hop in a portal, travel back in time, and you can talk to a 16-year-old Luke, but the portal's going to close in 30 seconds. What are you going to tell him in that time?
You're doing fine. Just remember, you're just starting and you've got a long journey ahead of you. This isn't everything. There's so much more that's going to happen. Yeah, I'm off. Don't fuck it up. Stop wearing those stupid trousers.
You just sling him a copy of the book if you
read
could.
the book.
Tell us a little bit about the book before you go.
Well, it's my life. This book, yeah, it's from 0 to 44, the beginning of January 2024 this year. It goes through my journey from being a kid in South Wales, in a little village, only child, brought up in a religious household, leaving home at a very early age, choosing a very different life to the life I was brought up to live, and almost starting a new life from 16 onwards with new friends because the religion I separated from it, coming out, finding my identity, finding out who I was. That's been a journey of my whole life. It didn't stop. I didn't just go, oh, this is who I am. And this book goes into all of that. My experience of moving to London at 17, very, very young, going to college. And then this crazy thing that happened to me 16 years ago, which put me onto a very different trajectory with movies and film and TV, which I didn't expect to happen. And all the personal stories behind all of that, I really go into that detail, because the best autobiographies I've ever read are the ones when it's not just about, and I did this, and I did this. It's more about like, and then I fucked this bit up. And then I made this decision, and it could have all gone really tits up at this point. And I saved it, It's a real story. It's a true story, and it's gritty, and it is as authentic as I could make it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, buddy.
Cheers, man.